Please like and subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. And of course, check out Jason's work at Clemson Insider. For as really good as this offense was last year, and maybe great as it's expected to be this year, the running back situation is a little precarious. Phil Moff is gone after 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. Then I see a bunch of names of guys that have carried the football, like a Keith Adams or a Jay Haynes, and then Adam Randall. What they did with him late last season, and then in the playoff game was a bit interesting. But that's seems to have been, correct me if I'm wrong, an overall shift that he's taken from one position to the next to go to running back. And then you got the 5-star coming in, Gideon Davidson. And usually on this type of team that's expected to be a top 5 team in the nation, you wouldn't be counting on even a 5-star running back, but they may need to.
Yeah, this is kind of the question on offense. You know, how things settle in at running back. Adam Randall came out of the spring, you know, the guy topped the depth chart, or he was the guy taking the first string reps. Didn't get to see much of him in the spring game. Kind of showed some flashes of what he could do at that position against Texas. You know, he had 3 days to prepare, is what Dabo said. They moved him there 3 days before the playoff game against Texas. Now he's been there all spring. I think it's probably a little bit of a stretch to hope you get the same kind of production that SMU got from their, you know, wide receiver turned running back last year. He had close to 2,000 all-purpose yards. I mean, it's a stretch to suggest you're going to get that. You know, but if you can get 500-600 yards out of him, man, I think that's a plus. I think that's a win. Dabo Swinney said, you know, the week before last that he fully believes that Adam Randall is going to be one of the great college football stories this year. You know, he also said, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I really believe that, you know, we've got one of the great stories here. You know, he's a big kid, 6'3". Klubnik said the other day he's up to 235, 240. Hasn't really impacted his speed, albeit he wasn't the fastest of guys after having some knee issues earlier in his career. But he's an interesting story, and it's going to be. I'm kind of anxious to see how it plays out. You know, particularly once you get a little bit into the season, is he going to be able to hold off Gideon Davidson? Because by all accounts, that guy killed it in the spring too. You know, he's one of those dudes that, you know, can do a little bit of everything. He's not just a between the tackles guy. He can take it around the outside. He can catch passes out of the backfield, and he is absolutely, you know, he's physically ready to go. We'll see how fast he has soaked up all the offense. So those would be the two guys at the top for me. Jay Haynes tore his ACL last December in the ACC championship game. He's not going to be 100% when fall camp starts. Dabo said he's still progressing, so we'll see how long it takes him to get fully back. And then you got the guy that redshirted last year, David Azuiamume, if I'm saying that right. I like to just call him Easy. Saw a good bit of him in the spring game. He kind of, you know, he looked like he was primed to take a jump. Still runs a little upright sometimes. Dabo even had to get on him a little bit about that during the spring game while he was on the mic, talking, you know, preaching ball security to him and not running so up high. And then after that, you got Jarvis Green and Keith Adams. They put Peyton Strecco on scholarship, but you know, a big part of how far this team goes is going to depend on what Adam Randall does at running back and how fast Gideon Davidson soaks it up. You know, I don't know how much to realistically expect from EZ this year. I think he's got all the tools. He just might be one of those guys that needs a couple of years before he's really ready to be cut loose. I could end up being proven wrong on that. That's just a feeling I get. But, yeah, it's a big part of what they do this year. It's going to hinge on what happens at running back because you can't go out here and throw it 50, 60 times every game, man. You got to have somebody that can run the ball. Obviously, you know, Cade and his ability to make some plays with his legs, that'll factor in too some. But you got to be able to have somebody to tote the ball. And as Clemson found out last year, you need more than one guy ready to go. When Phil Maffa got hurt last year, they just had nobody else to turn to. They basically kept running him out there with one arm, all the way up until the Texas game, pretty much. They were still running him out there. So you need more than one guy. It's going to be a big fall for the freshman Gideon Davidson, and for Adam Randall too, for that matter.
Well, Jason, I heard you say that you could be wrong about this running back setup, and that Dabo Sweeney says he could be wrong, but maybe somebody should tell Dabo, the more you talk, the more chances you have, higher chances of being wrong. We know Dabo likes to go on and on and on, but I enjoy listening to Dabo, so that's all right.